Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps. Welcome sa Mindanao R, led by Assistant Secretary Marie Banaag with AFP spokesperson Restituto Padilla.
Magandang umaga, Rocky. Magandang umaga, General Padilla. And magandang umaga sa Malacañang Press Corps, sa ating mga kababayan na Ilocano na imbag na agsapa kada kay amin. Here are the latest updates on the Joint Task Force Marawi on day 49 as of 6 p.m. yesterday, July 9, 2017. The number hasn't changed for civilians killed by terrorists. And we have the number of civilians rescued by government troops, LGUs, and CSOs is at 1,723, an additional of 1 civilian. And the number of terrorists killed at 379, that is an additional of 26 terrorists killed. The number of recovered high-powered firearms from terrorists is at 451, or an additional of 25 high-powered firearms. And as to government casualties, we have it at 89. We'd like to reiterate our previous announcements that government's policy not to negotiate with terrorists remains. The AFP reiterates its call to all our citizens to practice the concept of shared responsibility in security by being vigilant, alert, and conscious of their immediate environs wherever they are, and to report to authorities suspicious persons or items left unattended immediately. Here are some developments. We have the continuing significant development in the ongoing organization of the Interagency Task Force Bangon Marawi, or the IATF Bangon Marawi is responsible to prepare and undertake the comprehensive plan for the early recovery and rehabilitation of the city. The AFP with its GTG, or Joint Task Group Ranao, will lead the SRR cluster, or the Search, Rescue, Retrieval, and Rehabilitation operations. And lastly, if we work together, we can secure and keep our community safe from all threats. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, ASEC. On the part of the armed forces, may I just relay that the offensive operations are positively ongoing. We continue to gain headway in our operations on the ground. Troop morale is high, primarily because of the continuing public support that they are experiencing. And as a result of that, our troops are continuously forward-looking, hoping and looking forward to resolve this issue or this incident in Marawi at the soonest time possible. The Joint Task Group Ranao, under Brigadier General Ray, continues to make progress also in their wide consultation with local government, provincial government, and the national agencies of government that are now leaning forward to embark on the early recovery of Marawi. The early recovery stage is going to occur even while hostilities are ongoing. And this early recovery stage will pave the way for the preparation of the ground for the temporary resettlement area, while Bangon Marawi is capacitating itself and organizing itself to embark on the full recovery at the end of hostilities. So hindi po magsisimula ang ating gagawing pagtulong sa Marawi at hindi po natin hihintayin pa na matapos ang bakbakan, at sisimulan na po ito sa pamamagitan ng paglulunsad nitong paghahanda ng tinatawag na temporary resettlement area. So initially, itong temporary resettlement area na medyo malayo naman po sa labanan ay safe naman po upang simulan, at nagkaroon na po ng groundbreaking dyan kamakailan, informally. They will prepare the ground for the creation of this temporary settlement area, and initially, it will be a tent type dwelling for many of our residents of Marawi whose houses have been affected. After which, we hope to pave the way to create a single detached cottage for each and every member of the community whose houses have been destroyed during the fighting as their temporary resettlement. So hoping to make that as a 6 months to 1 year transition dwelling for many of the residents until such time that the areas that they used to live will have been reconstructed and rehabilitated. Primary attention and focus for the rehabilitation, of course, will go to the basic services initially. And what are these? The restoration of power, the restoration of water, the provision of safe drinking water and sanitation, and the restoration of health services, and also educational services. So, in line with the restoration of education, the DepEd has already closely worked with some of our engineers and some consultants and are leaning forward by putting in their materials that will be used for the repair and rehabilitation of the schools in Marawi in Iligan, in nearby Iligan. And they are also working with other contractors to make sure that as soon as the coast is clear and the signal is given, many of these materials that will be used for the reconstruction and repair of the schools in Marawi will be among the first items that will comprise the convoy for the full recovery efforts. So yan po yung mga priority na napag-usapan kamakailan. The Bangon Marawi Interagency Task Force continues to meet also, and they will be meeting again this week to lay the groundwork for the planning and the scheduling of all the work that will be needed once the go signal is done, and for the early recovery stage, which is the preparation of the resettlement, temporary resettlement area. May I also announce that we continuously get disturbing narratives from escapees that children as well as hostages are being employed in the firefight. And disturbing as it is, our troops are doing their best to avoid any casualty among these children that are being employed. But if in the event that they are armed and they bear arms and are involved in the fighting, there is nothing much that we can do. Similarly with the hostages who are being forced. Our efforts on the ground are also focused at rescuing civilians who are still trapped. And there are still quite a number, especially elderly, that are monitored to still be in the area, and we will seek to rescue them. In line with Bangon Marawi, the AFP is finalizing the preparation for deployment of our Army engineers, supported by the Navy and Air Force engineering units of the armed forces. Our soldier engineers are well experienced to undertake projects in conflict areas because they have been involved in nationwide infrastructure projects, especially during conflict events, like in Mamasapano, Maguindanao. They were part of the government's commitment and the AFP's commitment in helping our Muslim brothers immediately following these conflicts. They have also undertaken many projects, such as mosques, school buildings, covered courts, multi-purpose centers for the community, farm-to-market roads, health centers, etc., etc. There will be a more detailed report on this by Joint Task Force Marawi during their press con today. And I would request that you inform your desk to closely follow this as they make the report regarding the preparation and readiness of our engineering units to undertake the rehabilitation and recovery of Marawi in the days to come. May I also inform the public that issues regarding soldiers taking liberties at properties that are left behind in houses are just mere insinuation. And I would like to debunk that again by a good news that we got, that recently some of our troops recovered some important documents and items owned by a particular resident in one of the houses we cleared. This comprises high-value appliances, documents, and cash, and jewelries, if I'm not mistaken, owned by a certain resident, which was subsequently turned over to the owner. The owner was located, and the items were turned over to the owner, duly covered by a receipt. So this is just an indication that we would like to pass on to the public that we respect the rights of our citizens regarding their ownership in the houses that we are clearing. And currently, efforts are being undertaken that in areas that we have cleared, buildings, houses, etc., that we cannot guard, we have worked and are continuously working with local government, if possible, to have this padlock to secure the facility, the premise of the residence or the building properly by locking it up and ensuring that no one else gains access to it if we cannot guard it ourselves. In other areas, we will guard it if we have the manpower available. But in the other areas na hindi pwede, sisiguraduhin po natin na naipapadlock ito nang sa ganun, wala pong nakakapasok. Kasi noong mga unang linggo, nakahuli po ang ating tropa at saka mga pulis ng mga nanghihimasok na mga taong labas. Na yun po yung mga nagnanakaw, bukod dun sa mga terorista na pumapasok sa loob na ginagamit nila yung mga gamit sa loob ng bahay. So sa atin pong parte, oras na na-clear natin ang mga gusaling ito at hindi natin mabantayan, kasama po ang local government, ipapadlock po natin para hindi na po mapasukan ng iba. That is what I have for now, and should you have any questions. By the way, I'd like to pass on the appreciation of the armed forces to the MILF for issuing a fatwa last week against the Maute and the practice of extremism and radicalism currently in Marawi. This is all, and thank you very much.
Okay, first question, Marisa Lalini, TV5.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, may we have your views regarding the statement of House Speaker Alvarez saying that baka better if we will extend the martial law for another 5 years?
Maricel, I cannot give you a categorical answer because the assessment for the extension of martial law is still being undertaken, and we have not finished this yet. So let us wait for the assessment and the inputs from the ground if there is a need for us to extend the period of martial law, which by law is specified at 60 days. So if we need a longer period other than that, the assessment will provide that.
But so far, sir, kailangan ba ng another 5 years to at least clear the problem of terrorism, specifically in Mindanao?
Tulad nga ng sabi ko, hindi ko alam kung anong pinagbabatayan ni Speaker. Maaring may impormasyon siya na hindi namin hawak, at kami naman, ang pinagbabatayan namin is yung mga threats na hinaharap natin ngayon. And the period is something that will be subjective. So that is part and parcel of the assessment that we are making, so that before 60 days comes, we will have a very good basis for recommending whether to extend it or not to the President.
Sir, how soon are we going to expect the recommendation coming from?
It's already being done, and in a few days it will be submitted to the Secretary for his consideration because he is the administrator of martial law. And that recommendation will make its way up to the Commander-in-Chief, who will be provided an advance copy.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
JP Bencito.
Hi, General Padilla. Good morning. Sir, last week you mentioned about 80 terrorists still lurking in Marawi City. Sir, how far or ano po kaya yung possibility that this 80 terrorists can still provoke tensions further that will convince the military to recommend the extension of martial law?
Inside Marawi, ground commanders estimate that there are about 80 to 100 still remaining in the areas that we are addressing right now. But before, at the very beginning of the conflict, there were others who may have made their way out of the city. Because initially, the first week, we did not have a foolproof containment of the area. And many of these who have escaped still pose a threat to some of the nearby areas. And that is why we have instituted appropriate security measures to guard against the threat that may come from these individuals. They are not groups anymore. They are just individuals or small groups. But still, the threat that they pose is clear and present. And that is why it is good to hear that in the last few weeks, especially with the capture of a young bomber, Abu Hadid, if I'm not mistaken, in Cagayan de Oro, as well as the recent search that was conducted and the arrest of a number of women who were staying in this house in Cagayan de Oro, the threat that may be posed, particularly for the cities of Iligan and Cagayan de Oro, have been addressed through those arrests and the confiscation of materials that can be used for IEDs in the houses that were searched by our joint elements from Cagayan de Oro under General Benjamin Madrigal and the police chief there. So these are part and parcel of the proactive security measures that are in place in all the cities of Mindanao and in other areas outside of Mindanao that need to be continuously followed through with renewed effort. And the renewed effort is the encouragement of every member of the community to be part and parcel of the security posture of the whole archipelago. Yun yung sinasabi kanina po ni Asek Marie na dapat ang bawat mamamayan dapat nagiging kabahagi ng tinatawag na konsepto ng shared responsibility sa security. Na ang bawat mamayan sa kanilang kinaroroonan nagiging vigilant, nagiging alert, nagiging mapagbantay para sa ganon walang pwedeng mangyari biglaan at ma-address natin ito kaagad. Katulad nyo, kung sakaling pag-uwi nyo ngayong araw sa inyong mga komunidad, dapat ipinapalaganap natin itong konsepto na to kasi lahat tayo nagtutulungan. Ang bilang po ng sundalo at pulis ay hindi kasing dami ng buong mamamayang Pilipino. Kaya kung ang mamamayang Pilipino ay nagkakaisa at nagtutulungan, mas maigi yung ating security posture.
So, sir, yung 80 to 100 na yun, yung individual persons, individual people outside of Marawi, do they still pose a threat?
Yes, I think I answered that. They do pose a threat. That's why we have proactive security measures that are in place.
Okay, sir.
And we still need to arrest the rest of the names or the persons that are included in the arrest order issued by the Department of National Defense, the Administrator of Martial Law.
Sir, last na lang po. Yung 80 to 100 natin, does this include yung sinabi nyo kanina na children that are being employed?
Hindi, opo, kasama po dyan, kabahagi dyan.
Sir, on another topic po sana. Sir, will the military...
And the presence of probably foreign terrorists still in the area. That's the 80 to 100.
Sir, on another topic po, will the military recommend not to allow residents of Marawi to go back in the Marawi area? Meron na bang ganong klaseng usapan?
Us recommending for them not to go back?
Yes, sir.
For the time being, we are closing the doors of Marawi for the return of civilians because there's still a conflict ongoing. So it's logical to ask for that ban because it poses a danger to them. But after the conflict has ceased at maliwanag na pwede na pong bumalik, uunti-untiin po natin yung pagbabalik ng ating mga kababayan sa kanilang dapat tirhan. Pero tulad nga po ng sinabi natin kanina, yung titirhan po nila ay maaring wala na, nawasak na ng pangyayari ngayong nakaraang mga linggo. So tutulungan po ng gobyerno na ibangon uli sila sa pamamagitan ng pagtulong sa pag-construct ng kanilang mga titiran muli. So habang nag-aantay sila doon, nasa temporary resettlement area muna sila.
Okay, Pia?
Hi, sir. Sir, could we just get more of an idea of how the AFP is coming up with its recommendation? For example, sir, who are you consulting aside from the ground commanders in Marawi?
Regarding the extension of
Yung recommendation, sir, how are
Martial
you
law?
exactly drafting it or coming up
Well,
with it?
the security sector comprises not only the military but also the police. And hence, all the players involved inside need to be consulted. On the part of the armed forces, our primary basis is whether we have accomplished the operational objectives that have been given to us at the very beginning of martial law.
Sir, are you also consulting with the local government?
For operational, hindi masyado. But we do consider any inputs that they have.
Pero sir, walang initiative to consult them. If they offer, that's
Meron
when you...
din. Meron din. Meron din naman.
Sir, this is for ASEC Banaag. This is about martial law naman po, so it's still Mindanao our concern. Sir, ma'am, we'd just like to confirm if the President will be meeting with lawmakers on martial law this week. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
That we're not really sure of yet.
Ma'am, would you know if this meeting, whether or not it will push through, was it requested by the lawmakers or was it an initiative of the President?
Perhaps we can ask that tomorrow during the press briefing.
Okay, Ina Andulong to be followed by Ace and Pia.
Good morning. General Padilla, I understand nung Friday, some security officials again met with the ground commanders. Can you tell us what they discussed? I believe nasabi daw po ni Secretary Lorenzana that posibleng matapos na raw in just a week. Is that an instruction that he maybe gave to ground commanders that para matupad po yun?
I'm not sure if the Secretary mentioned that because even before this, he already admitted that there were 3 occasions that he was quoted as giving deadlines. But unfortunately, those deadlines have not been met because of the complexity of the battle area. I don't think he will have done that. The ground commanders have been provided the guidance to finish this as soon as they can. But it does not set a specific date.
But in that same press concern na binabanggitin nyo, although he did say na 3 beses siya nakuryente, yun yung term na ginamit niya, he said that he wants it finished naman daw before SONA.
Yes, yes.
So,
The Secretary has expressed his desire to have this concluded immediately and if possible within the week. But it was just an expression of what he wants personally. But as official guidance, he has given the ground commanders the leeway. Our ground commanders are doing all their best. I can assure you that. And our ground commanders from the Joint Task Force Marawi headquarters down to the people fighting on the ground only have one common objective, which is to finish this fight as soon as possible.
sir, dun sa binanggit po ninyo na early recovery stage, just a clarification,
Yes.
does that only pertain to efforts to start building the temporary shelters? And kasama na rin po ba doon yung damage assessment? Does this mean that we are able to send people inside to start assessing how much damage to infra has been made?
The early recovery primarily covers the preparation of the temporary resettlement area for now. And there are discussions to perhaps expand that to other areas, but this will be dependent on the discussions at Bangon Marawi. So the Interagency Task Force is currently doing their homework so that when the go signal is provided, they can lean forward to execute the plan of full recovery and rehabilitation. For the early recovery stage, for the moment, it is just the preparation of the temporary settlement because once the coast is clear, they will provide a go signal to move evacuees out of the evacuation centers into their temporary shelters so that they can have a decent place to stay with a bit of privacy for their families and start rebuilding from there.
So sir, wala pa rin tayong, hindi pa natin nauumpisahan yung damage assessment.
Yung damage assessment, may kaunti pong nasimulan, pero hindi po ito yung full damage assessment na gagawin.
Is it safe to say, sir, though, that damage is primarily just focused on the business district? Kasi parang, pag
Hindi.
pinapanood sa TV or pag nakita yung footage, it would give an impression that the entire Marawi, gaano kalaki po ba? At least a general assessment on yung properties.
Hindi ko hawak ina yung initial assessment na nagsasabi kung ilang porsyento ng syudad ng Marawi ang apektado at kinakailangang itulungan i-rehabilitate. Kasi hindi pa rin nakakapasok yung mga competent authorities at saka yung mga eksperto natin na siya magsasagawa ng assessment. May mga assessment na ginawa dun sa peripheral areas, maaari. At hindi ito yung full assessment na kinakailangan. So, I'm sorry, I cannot answer that for the moment.
Very last na po. And yung 20 billion, sir, is
Yes.
that an amount that will remain as is, whether or not, let's say, the damage assessment may require less?
Do you mean the commitment of government for the
Yes.
reconstruction of
The 20
Marawi?
billion.
Yes, I think that is the commitment of government for the recovery of Marawi. But as to how much will be entailed or will that be enough, I am not the expert who can answer that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Ace.
General, i-press lang kita dun sa 5-year extension.
Yes.
mo po. So you're saying you're not yet sure if regarding your stand on that matter?
Yes, the armed forces, actually 5 years may be too long for the moment. The armed forces, before it makes its recommendation to the commander-in-chief, must have enough basis, an intelligent basis to make whatever recommendations there is for the extension or the lifting. Now, as I was saying, we are sticking to some mission profiles that we were provided at the very beginning of martial law. Yun yung operational considerations na sinasabi ko. Karamihan ng atin, yung ating ginagawang assessment ay malaking bahagi dyan, dependent kung nagawa na ba natin yung mga operational objectives na yon. So, dun po tayo umiikot ngayon sa ating assessment, bukod sa mga ibang konsiderasyon. So, kung ano man po ang lalabas dun sa pag-aaral at assessment na ginagawa natin, batay po sa mga sinabi nating references at iba pa pong kinakailangang i-consider ang inputs, yun po ang magiging batayan. Ngayon, yung haba ng panahon, kung gaano katagal natin dapat i-extend ang martial law, ay magiging parte na rin ng assessment na yon. Pero tulad nga po na nabanggit ko, sa panig ng armed forces, ang mga katanungan dyan ay magre-revolve dun sa operational considerations na ibinigay sa atin noong nagsimula po tayo ng martial law.
Paki-elaborate nga, General, bakit tulong yung 5 years?
Una, katulad ng sabi ko, hindi ko alam kung ano yung nagiging batayan ng ating speaker kasi isang political decision ng martial law. Magre-recommenda lang ang ating Department of National Defense or ang Armed Forces, pero ang eventual decision ay kinakailangan manggaling sa political leadership na mayroong mas malawak na pinagbabatayan ng kanilang desisyon. Sa atin, tulad ng nabanggit ko, karamihan sa ating pinagbabatayan at gagamiting assessment parameters ay operational in nature. Kung ito ay ang misyon na binigay sa Armed Forces nung nagsimula ang martial law, tatanungin natin ang ating sarili, ganap na ba nating natupad itong mga ibinigay na misyon sa atin? Kung aming magiging kasagutan ay hindi pa natin natutupad, ang rekomendasyon, paano natin ito matutupad, hanggang kailan natin ito matutupad. At doon lalabas yung sagot na, sige po, ituloy natin ito. At ituloy natin ito sa ganitong habang panahon.
Kasi sinabi ninyo, di ba, you're gaining ground. Nananalo
Yes,
kayo
yes,
against
yes.
the Maute group and then
Sa baba, sa ground ngayon, sa gera na ongoing. Pero
80 na lang.
wag nating ilimit yung ating pag-iisip sa lugar lamang ng Marawi. Tandaan natin, yung struktura na siyang nagbibigay ng buhay dito sa nangyayaring rebellion na ito ay hindi lamang nasa Marawi. Itong Marawi lamang ang ginamit nilang lugar para atakihin. Pero nung kanilang pinaghahandaan ito, ang kanilang struktura at ang kanilang network ay laganap sa buong Mindanao. In fact, kamakailan, nung isang araw, nagkaroon po ng sagupaan dyan sa lugar ng Hulo, na kung saan may isa tayong namatay at 15 mga tropa na nasugatan. At ang nakabangga natin ay kasama rin sa bahagi rin ng ASG network na yon. So, yun yung mga konsiderasyon na kinakailangan nating isipin. So, yun yung mga bagay na papasok dun sa assessment na ginagawa.
Okay, related to that, General, may proposal sa Luzon na magbigay ng ID sa mga Muslim.
Magbigay ng
ID.
Yeah, mabuti tinanong mo yan.
Ano po ang stand ng AFP dito?
Sinagot na po rin po namin ito. Nagpaabot po kami ng aming komento dito na discriminatory pag ikaw ay pumipili na ang hihingan mo lamang ng ID ay isang sektor lamang ng lipunan. Kaya aming minungkahi, when we start checking identification of individuals, it should not be aimed at certain sectors of our society, but it must be applicable to everyone because everyone can be may look like an ordinary civilian, but they may not be who they say they are. So it's good and it is logical to always check on the identities of everyone in your line that you are about to check. So, yun po ang amin. So, ayaw namin. Kaya nga po, bilang pakikiusap sa lahat ng ating mamamayan, maging balanse po tayo. Hindi po lahat ng ating kapatid na Muslim ay bahagi nitong rebelyon. Iilan lang po yan. Tulad ng sinabi natin nung nagsimula ang kaguluhan, this was not a fight between religions. Hindi po ito religious war. Kung hindi po ito isang bakbakan laban po sa masasamang puwersa na nagdala ng kaguluhan sa Marawi. Period. Yan lang po. Wala pong involvement ang religious war dito. Kaya nga po yung paghihimok o pagnanais at attempt nitong teroristang grupong ito na hamunin o gawing parang religious war at himukin yung mga maaring magdepensa sa ibang mga relihiyon, sinabihan po natin ang lahat na wag po nating pababayaan na magkaroon ng ganong klaseng tema itong laban na to. Itong laban po na ito ay laban lamang sa isang grupo na nagtangkang magrebelde at magtayo ng kanilang lugar dyan at ginagamit nilang cover ay yung kanilang paniniwala na mali.
Okay, so sabi nyo discriminatory, pero are you open to the idea of coming up with a system na para sa lahat?
Yes.
Yung ID na ganon?
We are a strong proponent of the national ID system.
Okay.
And if that can be pushed, and I think Congress is pushing it, that would be some of the best measures that we can take.
Asek Banag, does the Malacañang share the view of the AFP with regard to the Muslim ID proposal?
Perhaps Secretary Abella would answer for that tomorrow.
Thank
Ace, it does not, you mentioned Muslim ID system. No, it's not a Muslim ID system. It's a national ID system.
Hindi, yung kanina. Yung kanina. Yun, okay.
Pero yung sinusuportahan natin is the creation of a national ID system.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ace. Pia Gutierrez, to be followed by Yellow. Last question, Rose?
Good morning, General. Sir, what's the AFP's recommendation in dealing with the civilians or mga civilian hostages and children being employed to fight by the Mauti group? For example, if they specifically pose a threat to the lives of the soldier, is the AFP recommending them to engage, for example?
When our soldiers' lives are at risk, they take appropriate measures to defend themselves. And that is allowable even by the Geneva Convention. So there's no question about that. But every time we have an opportunity to rescue a child or an individual who is being forced into the fight, we will do that. And there have been many occasions in the past that we have done so. In yung mga kaganapan po natin na nakalaban natin ng mga ibang armadong grupo sa loob ng ating bansa. Pangalanan ko na, yung NPA, dati silang bata na mga in-employ. Sa mga bakbakan, pag may nasugatan at nakita mong bata yan, hindi ho tutulungan ka agad-agad yan. At hindi po kami nagmamadaling barilin ang batang tumatakbo maski may dalang armas. kung kakayanin natin, i-disable lang. Pero hindi siya papatayin.
Do you have a number, sir, kung ilan pa po ang mga hostage?
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact numbers and the figures.
Ano yung age ng mga bata?
Teenagers, karamihan teenagers. So.
Okay, Yellow?
Yes, I would like to know, just you mentioned about we still have 80 to 100 terrorists there
Remaining,
in-
yeah.
Yeah, and among them still have foreigners.
Yes.
So I would like to know how many foreigners so far we found involved in this crisis, and I would like to know about why the ISIS choose the Philippines to raise their flag.
The numbers I gave, 80 to 100, includes foreign terrorists, that's correct. And at the very beginning of this conflict, we gave a number of about 30 to 40 foreign terrorists who are involved in Marawi. When we say involved in Marawi, they are there fighting alongside the local terrorist groups. Now, as to the selection of why, this is part of the historical growth of the local terrorist group. We had various terrorist groups in the area, and these terrorist groups combined together to form and express their full allegiance to the Daesh or ISIS. Once they started forming that, there were conditions that were required of them. And among the conditions that were required of them is to set up shop or occupy a territory that they can administer. And that was exactly what they wanted to do in Marawi. So that was it. Now, because of the notoriety that they gained or the news that came out in international press and their linkage that they tried to establish with the Daesh, this narrative started growing and becoming significant, such that when the ISIS at its height, or the Daesh in the Middle East, was still very strong, they considered this group in the Philippines as an entity that they acknowledge. Not yet fully working with, but now they're trying to establish that. But I doubt it if they can do that because we're addressing this issue. And also, like the news that you heard yesterday, the Iraq government has declared Mosul as taken, even with small pockets of resistance still remaining. But it significantly indicates that Daesh's days are numbered.
Last question na, Rose?
Hi sir, good morning. Sir, regarding lang po dun sa mga hostages na mga bata na ginagamit po ng Maute, meron din po kasing lumabas na report na mayroong Maute child warrior na na-interview and ginamit din silang mag-stockpile. Hindi po ba confusing na o baka man original member na ito ng Maute group at hindi mga hostages ng teroristang grupo?
Tulad ng binanggit ko noon, Rose, di ba, nailahad na rin natin na sa mga dati nating naging bakbakan, nakakuha tayo ng ebidensya na pictures, videos at materyales na nagsasabi na talaga nagtitrain sila ng kabataan. So itong mga minors na ito ay maaaring kamag-anak nila o mismong anak ng mga ibang miyembro ng grupong ito. Dito sa Marawi, may mga indikasyon at may mga nakikita na ganitong pangyayari. Yun ang ating nire-report. At maaring ang mga nakasama dyan ay bukod dun sa mga na-train na dati na sa ibang lugar, maaring sinama rin dyan yung ilan. So yun yung ating pinagbabasihan. Pero hindi natin masasabi kung maaring ibang hostages na mga minors ay pinipwersa rin nila.
Regarding naman po dun sa martial law, sir, kasama po ba sa recommendation ninyo, kasi nabanggit nyo po kanina, nababatay po sa recommendation nyo po yung na-accomplish ng military and police under operational procedures. Pwede nyo po ba kaming bigyan kung ano po yung mga major accomplishments ng military under martial law sa loob ng 7 linggo?
Unang-una, dun sa binigay na arrest orders, nakapag-aresto na tayo ng mga 60 plus na mga individual na kabahagi dun sa arrest order. Kasama na rin ang ilang mga individual na ang pangalan na hindi nakikita dyan. Pero maliwanag na sumuporta dun sa rebellion. Yan ang iba. Pangalawa, napagtuunan natin ng pansin itong rebellion na nangyari sa Marawi at nakapag-lagay tayo ng mga puwersa at hindi na natin ito napayagang lumaki pa. So parte yan ng ating accomplishment. At pagkontrol sa iba't ibang mga lugar ng buong Mindanao na maaring magpadala ng tulong sa mga grupong ito na hindi natutuloy dahil napaigting natin yung security measures na inilatag natin. Ganun din yung mga ibang inilatag nating pagbabantay sa mga malalaking syudad natin tulad ng Cagayan de Oro, Iligan, Davao, Zamboanga, Cotabato at iba pa. At itong mga nilatag nating security measure ay bahagi ng kooperasyon at ginagawa nating tulungan sa lahat ng miyembro ng security sector. So overall, napapangalagaan natin yung security ng buong isla ng Mindanao at lahat ng buong Pilipinas. So ito'y isa sa mga accomplishment na magiging bahagi dun sa ating sinasabing nakatulong ang martial law.
Sir, thank you po.
Okay, follow-up, Pia?
Sir, the operational objective, does this also include the capture or the neutralization of Isnilon, Hapilon, and the Maute brothers?
Well, ultimately, the objective is for that, for us to be able to do that.
So, sir, until such time that they are neutralized or captured, you would not recommend that martial law be lifted?
Not necessarily.
So, it might be possible that you could ask for it to be lifted even if they haven't been neutralized yet?
Yes, yes.
So, as long as the clashes are over, would that mean, sir, fighting over meaning no more terrorists in Marawi? Is that correct to say?
Well, it will be dependent on the initial operational guidance that we got. As I was mentioning, we need to be very clear whether we have accomplished that or not. And what is going to be a primordial consideration is whether we have reestablished the rule of law as well as peace and security in most parts of Mindanao.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Argel, Manila Bulletin, and last question.
By the way, in addition to that, we do understand that even the majority of Mindanao favors martial law. But even if public perception is alongside that area, we still have to make our thorough assessment. And it's not just about perception. It's actually about the facts on the ground.
Okay, Argel, Manila Bulletin.
Sir, good morning po. Sir, reaction niyo lang po dun sa report po na lumabas citing a former government official saying na understatement daw po yung civilian death toll ng AFP when pwede daw, it could have breached around 2,000 civilian casualties since May 23.
Come again? Underestimate
Understatement daw po.
Understated lang yung civilian casualties?
Yes po. And ang sabi po dito is, the civilian death toll in Marawi since May 23 could have breached 2,000.
And do you
Reaction lang
know
po,
the
sir.
source?
No sir. Anonymous po.
Anonymous. Okay. So many accusations can be hurled. And that's why there's a call for us to be very judicious about what we believe in, to be very discerning. Kaya madaming pwedeng mag-akusa. Ngayon, isa rin sa sinasabi natin, hindi kami nagdadagdag ng casualties hanggat hindi namin sigurado. Kaya ngayon 39, maingat kami na nagdadagdag hanggat hindi namin alam kung sino talaga ito at kasi maaring maging sino mang nakuha mong kadaber ay mga dating terorista na nakipaglaban. So hanggat hindi kami nagkakaroon ng mainam na pruweba, saka lang kami nagdadagdag.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, last question. Marisa Lalini, TV5.
Sir, quick question lang. I understand po over the weekend may lumabas uli ng mga photos of alleged terrorists na kumuha uli ng selfie in Marawi. Identified na po ba kung sino-sino tong mga to?
Well, those are materials that were recovered by our troops. Mga iniwan ng cellphone, USB, electronic devices na na-recover nung sinuri itong mga to. So maaring mga kinuha yan noong mga unang linggo pa, nung medyo nakakangiti pa sila. Pero ewan ko ngayon kung nakakangiti pa sila.
So possible na yung iba sa kanila, sir, kasama dun sa casualties?
Maari.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Brigadier General Restituto Padilla.
Thank you very
Asek Banaan.
Ay, meron palang
Yes,
dagdag na report.
we still have the status of cash donations before we end. as of 10 a.m. of today, July 10, 2017, for the AFP Marawi casualties at 3,223,490.98 pesos. And for the Marawi internally displaced persons at 765,727.21 centavos. On top of that is that received from Philippine Airlines Foundation last Friday in check at 2 million pesos. And of course, for contact persons, for those donations, it would be flashed. It's flashed on the screens. Thank you so much.
May I also make an announcement? In the absence of the presidential spokesman, Secretary Belia, I have been requested to make an announcement because there will be a slight change in the schedule of the Mindanao update or the Mindanao Hour. We will be doing the Mindanao Hour every Monday and Friday only. And we shall be issuing statements in between. So the statements will be provided to you on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and there will be reports on Mondays and Fridays. For Fridays, we wish to devote this to the Interagency Task Force Bangon Marawi. So as they make their way and concretize their plans as we transition to early recovery, rehabilitation, you need to hear more about the efforts of the Interagency Bangon Marawi. So that is why we will try to slowly phase in Interagency Task Force Bangon Marawi for these reports, as well as other issues.
Okay, thank you, Brigadier General Restituto Padilla. Thank you, Sec. Marie Banaag. Thank you,
you,
Malacañang
Rocky.
Press Corps, back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and PTV.
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Director Dennis Ting.
You're invited to...
Sinabi niyo, di ba, sir, 5 years, 5 years may be too long. Pero yung